What's up, everybody?
Hello.
So this is a first. We're actually doing this together in the same space. So
look, I can touch her.
Yeah, we're real life people.
We're real.
And we know each other in real life.
Yes, we do.
Sadly. I'm just kidding.
Oh, here we go.
I'm just kidding. So this live is going to be a little bit different than our other lives because we are doing it like this. We can still see the comments and everything like that. So feel free. It's still interactive, just like as always. So if you ever want to chime into the conversation, feel free to put your comments in below and we'll answer live or interact live because it is an open dialogue conversation. So today we're going to be talking about some different things. It's a little, like I said, this is a different live than what we typically do. So
yes.
And today specifically we're going to be talking about the awakening process, what that means, what it's like. And then Ivan decided he's also going to be on this live with us today.
Oh, you can kind of see us like back.
This is Ivan, everyone. So hello. You hear him all the time on my lives.
Drinking water.
Drinking water,
Surprisingly,
whatever.
he's not.
Yes. So welcome to episode 24 of the AWAKEN Vlogcast. And
that's my number, 24.
Yes, which we did not plan this at all. So that's
not.
interesting. Like I said, we're going to be talking about the awakening process. So for a lot of people right now, tons of people are waking up more than ever.
Yeah.
And I've noticed specifically in my circles, people waking up, which is really cool because that's why I do what I do, right? Thank you, Rachel. My whole purpose here is to help awaken people. And I believe that's a lot of Morgan's purpose also.
Same. Yep.
And we do that by being ourselves. Hi, Christina.
He's drinking water now.
Yep, here goes the water. All right, so why we want to share this is because it's really important. I mean, I've been on this journey for 7 years now, 6-7 years. So I didn't just get here overnight. So what we're going to try to share with you is like what we experienced with our own awakening process, things to expect, things like that. So that if you are new through this and you're going through it, you know, one, you're not alone and you're not crazy.
Not alone.
Hi, Anna. So if you've never joined our Awaken Vlogcast before, like I said, this one's a little bit different because we usually do a dual live, but since we're here in person together, it's different this time.
That's right.
But the point is you can put in the comments any questions or anything you want to add to the conversation because this is not us talking at you, this is talking with you. This is an open dialogue conversation. That's the conversations we have on these.
Yeah, it's a space we create for everyone to kind of join in and have conversations where we can talk about anything.
Correct.
Literally anything. Because we've talked about everything.
Yeah, this is episode 24. So if you guys are just hopping on this Awaken Vlogcast train, you need to go back and watch our past episodes because there's some good stuff.
There's some
and that's
stuff.
Ivan hitting this.
If it tips over.
Yeah, if it falls over, my bad. So we've covered lots of things. The other thing is we're always taking topics because we want to teach people and talk about things that you guys want to learn about. So if you ever have a topic that you want to hear us talk about, you can send us a message or comment or whatever and just tell us. And we have a running list of topics that we choose from. There goes Ivan. So feel free anytime. Okay, so awakening process. Do you want to share like what it was like for your awakening or?
Sure, I guess that'd be a good place to start.
We'll go from there.
Let's see. I guess I started my process probably when I was pregnant with my first son, which was over 8 years ago. But it really got intense in the past probably 2 to 3 years. And when you start getting into the intense phase, it can be really kind of scary, kind of overwhelming because it's kind of like your reality is peeling away. I mean, it's just like cracking and peeling away, and you're just like, oh my gosh, this thing that I
so
thought
sure of.
that I believed for my whole life, that's not real anymore. That was
it's like the
that
Truman
was
Show.
orchestrated.
Have you ever seen the Truman Show and Jim Carrey? That's what it's like in real life.
Yeah, and it's, oh my gosh, it really is kind of scary at first, and you do start to, well, let's see. I trip on my words a lot, blah, blah, blah.
It's fine.
But it's because there's so much going on inside, and I will say for me, it started internally, and it was hard for me to speak out to other people about it because of the judgment that I feared, and I didn't know quite how to word things, or I'm like, oh my gosh, they're going to think I'm stupid. And then I was questioning myself too. I'm like, am I really crazy?
Yeah.
And, you know, I would kind of maybe tiptoe the subject into different conversations and just kind of feel it out. And then I'd be like, oh, that's not a safe place to do that. So you like go back into your little
bubble.
shell, your bubble. But slowly it just becomes part of who you are now, is starting to question things. And you get more and more brave along the process. And for me, as a mom, as a parent, it was really important to me to do things differently for my kids so that they didn't maybe have to go through the shock of what it was for me. Because it was really, really intense. And I'm like, I don't want that for them. I want to kind of just casually talk about these things and ease it into conversations, because kids are really very intuitive and understanding, and you can't really freak them out with stuff because they're so new to the world. They're just like, oh, okay. And they ask questions that make you question things even more, and you're like, oh my God, like,
little kids
that's
are great
so wise.
for
What
sure.
the heck? You're like 5 years
You're
old.
so smart.
Yeah. So it's been a interesting journey. How about you? Why don't you share yours now?
My turn?
Yeah, your turn.
Okay. So for me, same thing. So I can tell you specifically, I remember when my awakening was happening. I can tell you what I was doing and everything. So I just got out of a really bad relationship. I started working on myself. That's when I first started processing the death of my cousin that passed away, that I've talked about a couple times on these lives. And that was like a really big deal for me. And so I started going internally and working on things. I also started getting into Buddhism around that time. So I started practicing Buddhism, meditating. But for me personally, I can remember the exact moment it happened. I remember I was living in Norman at the time, and I would go ride my bikes along. There's this really long street that's like a bike route over there. And I was riding, listening to music. And I remember all of a sudden just seeing, like, when they talk about a veil being lifted, like, that's the only way to describe it. Because I could literally... I remember the exact moment. It's like I got a download of information is what it felt like. And I'm looking around and like colors are brighter, or different colors that I didn't see before. Or like sounds were louder, like, and it's just like all of a sudden I just had all this knowledge that I was like, did not have like 2 seconds prior.
Like,
and I'm like, what the hell is happening right now? But I also knew that I was working on myself, so I'd been raising my vibration enough to get to that spot. So for me, it was definitely the shock factor at first, like, what the hell is happening?
Whoa.
Like, I know, but it was also the awareness that something was happening, right? So you have to be aware to even begin with. And similar to like what you said, it was really scary for the fact that you start questioning everything, because up until this point, you've just blindly accepted what people have told you. Like, I know for me, I've had to unlearn a lot of shit for different reasons. That I was told was the thing that was the right thing when I was growing up, and not to question it because my parents told me, or, you know, someone at school told me, or some adult, whatever thing you want to give it. So for me, it was being scared because I started questioning things, because something I thought was so solid now wasn't. And that can be really confusing when you start questioning everything you knew up to this point. And then when you don't know anybody else, so for me, I didn't know anybody else going through it at that time. So I literally was like alone in my little boat, like
scary,
in the sea of vast knowledge and awakeness, like on my little dinghy, okay, out in the middle of the ocean. That's where I was. And it was scary as shit. I'm not gonna lie. Because when you don't feel like you have people that you can talk to about things like that. Sorry, I have to hide my dog's toy because he's trying to get it right now. I love you. It's scary because you do feel crazy. And if you don't have a support system, it makes it so hard. Because you want to be able to talk these things out. You don't want to have all this internal dialogue all the time, which is great to have internal dialogue. I'm not saying that, but it's even more important to have that conversation out loud with somebody.
When you have an outlet for all that internal dialogue, it gets really...
Sorry, we're getting distracted by my dog being dumb right now.
Oh, that's so funny.
That's fine.
What was I saying? Come on, break. Oh, it gets if you don't have an outlet to share these thoughts, then it just builds up in your head, and it gets. It's kind of like it's kind of like emotions. Like when you just bottle up emotions, you're like bottling up all these thoughts, and they just can kind of run wild. And so you need to have that outlet, that kind of release a little bit, just to know, like, okay, someone's just willing to listen, and
which makes a huge difference.
And I feel like it's getting better, but there's a lot of people don't really want to listen. They want to judge. They're very judgy. And they're like, oh, well, that's not what the Bible says, or you're just not supposed to do that, or that's
don't question things.
What would your grandma think about that? And you're all these things at you that try to limit like all these thoughts, and it's just it can become a very dark place too. And so when you find like minds, it's just such a relief, because you realize you're not crazy, and there are others that think the same things you do, or that at least question the same things you do. Because this isn't about having all the answers, because my God,
there's no way.
There's
You'll
no
never
way.
have all the answers, ever.
Never, ever, ever will that ever happen. But just the willingness to talk about different ideas and possibilities with friends and family, hopefully, just is so amazing, and I believe helps awaken more people, which is what we need right now. There's so much going on in the world, and we need as many people questioning and talking about all these things that everyone else wants to do the whole ignorance is bliss thing about.
That's not going to work anymore.
That's not going to work anymore. And we're shifting into this new reality or new dimension that some people call it, and it's really important, and it's really awesome. And again, that's why we do these things.
That's exactly why we created the AWAKEN Vlogcast, actually.
So we can have open dialogue, and you maybe it's something that one of us says, you're like, oh my gosh, I've been thinking about that for a while, or I've asked that question before, but I've had no one else has ever said that. So you're not alone in these things. That's why we do this. So
anyway. Yes, I agree.
We might randomly laugh about it. So.
Anyway. So, yes, that's why we created the AWAKEN Vlogcast, is because basically this is how this came about. One day, Morgan and I were sitting around talking.
Just chilling.
I think it was after a Reiki session, actually.
It was, because I was at Transcend.
It was. So it was when I still had my physical space for Transcend. In Norman. And we were sitting there just talking after a Reiki session, talking about how these types of conversations that Morgan and I have, we were having all the time. And we felt like more people needed to have this conversation, because she was talking to people individually, I was talking to people individually about it, but together, collectively, we could create and do more. So that's how the AWAKEN Vlogcast even came into reality, is we decided we needed to create a space so that people could conversate about these things and have open dialogue conversations. So like everybody watching these lives, we have people that interact with us on the lives, and it's really cool when we see like other viewers interacting with other viewers. Like we've had people that are viewers now, like they're
conversing with each other.
Cool.
It's amazing. You're like, oh, like because of us they made that connection, and then who knows how many other connections.
Because that's how just ignore that. That's how that happens. When you create a network of like-minded individuals, you then create a grid of people, and it just lights up. Sorry. It lights up the grid of the world, okay, of awakened people. So the more you do that, the more it attracts like-minded people. So basically, because we started doing this, I mean, how many people would you say that weren't even awake? Because I know a lot of our viewers now that watch. Like, it's so cool to see even them, how they've changed. Like, think about specific, consistent viewers. I won't say their names. I'm not going to call anybody out. Don't worry.
No calling out. It's okay.
But, you know, we have specific viewers that you've watched. Just who you're thinking of, like, transition and change and awaken. And it's really cool to see that process. Like,
it makes me happy.
It literally makes my heart happy. Like, that's my purpose here. That's why I'm here to do that.
We're all connectors.
Yes.
You know, and I've said this before on some of our past lives, but I think of it like you have Earth, the globe, and then all these little lights, you know. You think of lights, if you're looking from space at Earth, like we're light workers, and we're all lighting up, and we're all connecting, and all these energies. And so it's like we're creating this grid, this energetic grid around Earth, and it's getting stronger and stronger, and raising collectively the vibration of Earth from these lower vibrational energies that have had a hold of Earth for thousands of years. I mean, we could get into all kinds of stuff, but thousands of years.
Rabbit hole tonight. That's a whole.
That's a deep rabbit hole. That's one I'm like, I barely like scratched the surface on. But we can make a difference, And I know, you know how some people make fun of like, when people say, thoughts and prayers and like all that stuff, you know, thoughts and prayers and intentions can be very powerful when you are intentional about them. So this is intentional for us. This we're taking, you know, a couple hours of time out of our day to do this, but we enjoy it. It's not something that's forced, and we know we are having an impact because we never know who's watching this and what purpose we've awakened in them for them to fulfill their purpose in this lifetime on Earth. We need everybody.
We're planting seeds. That's what we're doing.
Yes.
It's not up to us how viewers decide to use those seeds. We just plant them. Yeah. But that makes me think, one of my favorite movies is, oh my God, of course it just went blank. Pay It Forward. Oh my God, Pay It Forward. Okay. Yeah. So, what is his name? The little Sixth Sense kid. I can't think of his name.
Oh, Haley Joel?
Yes.
Osment?
Okay, he's in that movie. Yeah. But anyway, so in that movie, this kid, like, does a nice thing for this person has to do nice things, blah, 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 and it keeps just going forward. So I feel like that's what we're doing as we awaken people. Like, we're planting seeds, we're, you know, giving this knowledge to this person's using it, and then they get to impact, and it just keeps going. And that's what's really awesome to me, is like the ripple effect.
Oh, the ripple effect.
I love it.
Or the butterfly effect.
Yes, that's cool too.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so that's our awakening process. So, parts of it can be scary because there's a lot of knowledge that you've got to absorb. And it can be overwhelming also. I think that's important to say.
It can be very
because you've got so much stuff coming in, you're just like, I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Because you can start, you're like, I'm curious about this one thing.
Oh, God, then you'll go
down I've done this before. And I'm happy to give my example that pops out of my mind because it's funny.
Please do it.
Okay, so you have this one thing that you're like looking into and you're like, okay, that's interesting. It's very overwhelming, but you know, you can handle it. And then on your journey to looking into this stuff, something pops up that you can't quite handle at that moment. And then you're up to like 2 a.m. just like watching videos and reading things. And you're like, holy shit, I'm like so freaked out, I can't go to sleep. So mine, like I said, I don't remember what it was I was looking at, but I ended up... This may be a little out there for some people, but we don't care. But I ended up in the whole reptilian thing. Like,
oh, I remember this.
And I was like, what the fuck is this?
I remember
What the fuck is a reptilian? And there were like videos and like just all this stuff about reptilians. If you don't know what reptilians are, you should just go.
Don't. If you're ready for it.
If you're ready for it.
If you're not,
then you
don't.
Google it.
If you have to question it and you're even getting a weird feeling, don't.
Right. Listen to your intuition. If your intuition tells you can handle it, great. If not, then don't. I just happened upon it and I was not ready. And I was like, oh my God. And now, like, I'm cool with it. I've processed it. I've seen things. I'm fine with it. But it's, it can be quite intense sometimes. And you'll keep falling down that rabbit hole. And then you're down in the rabbit hole, in all the other rabbit holes.
You are the rabbit hole.
Ooh, yeah, you are the rabbit hole.
You become the rabbit hole.
You become the rabbit hole. Oh, that's good.
I try.
Yeah, and I mean, you're just down there. But then it's really cool because you start seeing how things connect. So the more rabbit holes you go down, the more things you question, you start seeing these connections, and it becomes this spider web. I don't know, spider web.
I like your spider. That's nice.
Yeah. And that's really powerful too, because the more connections you make, the more that you understand. And then when you learn something new, it's like a puzzle. You're like, oh, this piece goes right here, and I can see more of this picture here. Yeah. So,
and I think the one part of that too with the puzzle pieces, education is the biggest part. So us telling you these kind of things, I mean, that's a form of education, yes, but I think you exploring it yourself is where you're going to get the most benefit, because you're having your own personal experience with it. And it's you being able to, like, if you read a book, for example, you could read something that somebody wrote, but the way you process it is going to be different depending on your mind. Everyone's mind is different. And, like, I could read something and you could read something, and we get totally two different things from it.
And they could both be right.
Yes. There is no wrong, really. There's just different perspectives.
It just is.
Hi, Jamie. So the part about what you were saying about being overwhelmed too and things getting scary, I think the part to remember in that part is grounding yourself is super important. Yeah. Because you don't want to get super anxious, because I remember I did that too after I first awakened. Yeah. What'd you get into? Oh, I was a prepper. Like, I was a hardcore,
like doomsday zombie apocalypse.
Oh, yeah, like,
prepper.
oh, man, this shit's deep, it's dirty, we just gotta get prepared, and then I'm like...
Get my water, my food, and my knives. And
legit, guys.
Yeah.
I had a 3-day pack, a 72-hour pack, and that thing was heavy as shit, and it was packed. It was, I had my ribs planned out. It's probably in my storage unit.
Is it?
Not that I use it, but, whatever. I'm past that now, but that was, way at the beginning.
It's good to have, but you're not like, oh my god, living for that.
And here's why. Because I believe when you are operating from fear or anxiety or whatever, like, usually that's, like, lower vibrational. Mm-hmm. So when I first had my awakening and that was happening, I was living from a lower vibrational part of that awakening. Like, I was living in the fear part of it.
Yeah.
What I realized, though, is that's how, what do you want to call it, the other realm, the dark, whatever it controls, is fear-based.
Yeah, just the low vibe.
Yeah, it's all fear-based. That's what they feed off of. So I made the decision that that's not what I was going to feed into anymore, and just decided to change my perspective and see it more from a, like, higher vibrational place. Like, I'm so aware and vibrating so high, I would tell myself, like, things that those didn't even exist to me. Like, they couldn't touch me. And almost like I was protected. Does that make sense?
Like a shield, like you're shielded from it, like a bubble.
Yes.
Like, I'm in my
bubble. Because the truth is, and we've talked about this on the lives before, we talked about the emotional guidance scale and things like that, like, certain things cannot exist at certain vibrations. Mm-hmm. So if you raise your vibration high enough, those things aren't going to happen. Yeah. More than likely. Yeah. I'm not saying ever, because it is life and things will happen to test you.
And challenge you. Yeah. And help you grow.
And that's why they do happen, is there's always a lesson, there's always growth in it. So, anyway, so I was saying all that so you ground yourself. Don't overwhelm yourself. That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
Because it's easy, very easy to get overwhelmed. Yeah. And I was never very good at grounding. I always had to work on it a lot. I was always up, like, very...
I'm always in my upper chakras. Yeah. Like, I have to be very purposeful about grounding myself, especially with what I do now. Yeah. 100%. So I get that.
Yeah. And I'm outside a lot more. We manifested, like, this house and this land, and so I'm outside a lot more. And I just feel so much more grounded. And it's been a long journey to that. But I just feel it. And, back to the fear-based things. So fear is how the dark realm, we could call it.
That's what
sounds like from like a Marvel movie, like Thor: The Dark World.
The bad guys.
But the lower vibrational energies, the dark realm, they keep people in fear. So that's why I don't watch mainstream news anymore. Oh. I know it seems weird to, like, get your news from Facebook and social media, but I'd rather get my news from the people than these corporations and these people that only do fear-based stuff and only do things to get people to fight with each other, because that's what ratings. I mean, and they don't rate fear and getting people dividing people get ratings.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's how they control us. So you can't. And I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, but you just turn off the news, because it's all.
Or don't just blindly accept it if you do watch the news.
Yeah, like, question it.
That's what we're saying.
Like, if I go to someone's house and, like, there's news on, I'm just like, oh my gosh. Like, you can immediately tell something that's BS versus something that, like, there's actually something
of stuff
to it. So just be really aware of those programs that are out there that get you to live in fear or to live divided against each other, because that's where they get their power. And you take your power back when you don't allow those things into your energetic field at all. And then you feel a lot better too. And then you notice you're not experiencing as much negative things in your life as you did before, because you just straight up, you're saying, nope, that's not allowed here. I'm not going to fall for that crap.
And there's a reason for that too, because you are the things that you watch, the things that you listen to, the things that you read, the people that you're around. Yep. Energetically, you are a mixture of all of those things. So if you're constantly feeding yourself that, then...
Am I here? Did I disappear? Am I, like, off screen?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Anyway, I don't know what I was saying. It threw me off.
I'm sorry.
It's alright. It's not you. It's a comment.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, you are the things that you absorb. So it's really important to pay attention to you know, what you're watching on TV, what you're reading, what you're listening to, podcast-wise, music-wise even. Like, music is a huge thing for me. And there are some, like, I will listen to almost any genre of music, but there's some specific genres I won't listen to because I can literally feel the vibrational difference in the music.
What don't you listen to?
Well, like, for example, a lot of the Screamo stuff.
Screamo? What's that? Am I too old to know what that is?
You're not too old to know what Screamo is.
I've never heard Screamo. Oh,
yeah,
wasn't that... Okay.
That's like...
Okay, yeah, no, I don't do that stuff.
Okay.
I didn't know it was called Screamo.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, like, that kind of music I won't listen to because the vibration is just like...
Yeah.
Like, even thinking about it, it's weird.
I know.
Podcast, what else did I say? The people that you're around. It's just... You need to know what you're feeding your mind, what you're feeding your soul, because it all does affect you.
It does.
Which also, if you're around somebody like, for example, that's like really negative all the time, then you might find yourself being negative because
I've experienced that.
Because our brains just do that. We like to look for connections with people, so we want them to feel included, even if they're bitching about something that's totally irrelevant and not good. You're just like, oh yeah, I remember, like, I was late yesterday or whatever. I don't even know because I don't bitch about things, so it's really hard for me to get that mindset. But I'm like, what do people bitch about? Oh, I didn't get my coffee this morning. Or
traffic. People bitch about being in traffic.
Oh yeah, I'm like, you know what?
About traffic. Yeah.
That's true. I was like, you know what? Traffic though could be. It could be like keeping you or preventing you from being in a wreck, like on your way to work. Like you don't know. Like
you have no idea.
Or it could be giving you extra time for yourself in the car that you need that morning that you didn't even know that you needed. Yeah. So that's how I do things like that. Or like road rage, people hate. Like, that was weird. We just froze.
Okay, I think we're back. Oh my god, yeah.
Anyway, so like my dad has horrible road rage, right?
Yeah.
And I am a non-aggressive person. I don't like people yelling. I do not like those tones. Like they literally make me feel weird.
Yeah.
I don't like them.
There like, oh my god.
So anyway, I don't ride with my dad anymore.
Okay.
But when I did ride with my dad, or I had to, like, I would be so stressed out the whole time. Aww. And he's like, my grandma's watching this, so she'll know too. But like, nobody in my family likes to ride with my dad for this reason.
Oh yeah.
But he would be so aggressive and just like yelling at people. I'm like, no one can hear you, bro. No one can hear you.
Yeah.
Like,
and no one cares.
Yeah, and flipping them off or whatever. And like my perspective is, if I am out driving and someone's driving crazy or whatever or cuts me off, I'm just like, I don't know where that person's going. That person could be going to the hospital to see their loved one right before they pass away. Like, I don't know. All I send them is love and light, and I hope that they get there safely and don't hurt anyone else in the process. Yeah. I don't know where I was going with that, about not being negative. Don't feed into it is basically
it's looking at it from a different perspective.
Yeah, like
just
analyzing things and just trying to see all sides of it, because like we said earlier, there's no wrong side, there's just a different perspective. So like, for example, with my clients and things like that now, the reason I'm able to help them the way that I am is because I can literally float back and see all perspectives, not just theirs. I can see the person that they're having a conflict with, I can see a third party, like I can see all those perspectives at once. And that's why I'm able to see the bigger picture, so that I can give them the guidance or the tools or whatever they need to be able to work through that. I don't just tell them how to do that. I just give them the tools and leave that up to them, because I think that too is part of the process, is that they have to have their own experience with that journey for it to actually work, to be successful.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think, and you see a lot in the, there's like the coaching and like the, well, that whole industry, all of that, just,
you know how I feel about that, so
yeah. People or coaches or whoever making you think that your progress is because of them. And yes, they have helped you, but it's because of you and the work that you do. So you got to be careful of people taking the credit for your work that you've done, because a true helper is just going to give you the tools that you need for you to do the work and be
100%.
supportive of you and your journey. So you have to be really careful with that, because we see that a lot.
And if anybody follows me on Facebook, they know that I am like the biggest rah-rah cheerleader ever for people.
Yeah, she really is. Yeah, she's awesome.
Like, I love doing that. I love when people send me messages or comments or like texts or whatever. I get stuff all the time, all day, every day, and I will send them stuff, and to see them do the work, and then I will go cheer them on. I'm like, you go, girl. You go, boy. It's usually girls, but you go, boy. You go, girl.
Yeah.
Anyway,
well, you have my husband. You were a part of his journey to helping himself. So
he's pretty rad. I like him.
He's kind of awesome.
Yeah, and so not only that, but when you're going through that and then you've experienced it, right? Then maybe you've inspired someone because you speaking your truth and sharing your story. All of us have a unique story that we are supposed to share. I don't know why people get this weird stigma around talking about their trials and triumphs and blah blah blah, and only life coach and mentors can do that. I'm like, bullshit. Like, tell your story. Everyone has a unique story for a reason. Your story can impact someone that my story couldn't touch, or my story can help someone that maybe you were trying to share your story and it didn't really resonate with them. Like, we all have a story for a reason, and we've all been through our own experiences for a reason.
Yeah.
So when you're able to work through that, and then you come from a space and when you healed it, and then you share your story, that's really fucking powerful, because then you can help someone. It's basically like reaching back and like, hey, I was there. Let me help you. Let me show you what I did. Because that's what I do with people. I mean, I only show and share with them what I've done personally for myself. And I will tell them, it didn't necessarily work. It might not necessarily work for you. But this is what I did. So that it kind of gives them a little bit of a roadmap, maybe, if you will, like to go for guidance. And then they get to navigate from there. And that's part of their journey.
I'm gonna look at my phone. Can anyone see me? I'm gonna look at my phone, see what's going on. You can comment if you can see me, or if you can't.
Can you see the full? Do you see
us?
Morgan sitting next to me, or do you just see me here? We want to know what's happening.
Like, who is she talking to?
Guys, I'm going through a little mental
I'm a
crisis
ghost
right now, talking to myself apparently.
Oh my gosh, let's see. Oh, I don't want the volume on.
Oh, I see both of us.
Yeah, I see both of us. Maybe it's internet connection. Internet can be weird. Yeah.
Can you see both Morgan and I sitting here?
Yeah.
Whoever is watching now.
Yes.
Brandy said yes.
Oh, look. I'm watching myself.
That's a little weird there. This is a little...
Live
All right, so we're good. Don't even worry about it.
Okay, yeah, cool.
If you can't see Morgan, I don't know why, because some people can and some people can't. But she's sitting next to me.
I am. I promise.
Right now on this live. Okay, I don't even know where we were because that like threw me off. Okay, they said both.
Too. Okay.
So we're getting comments.
Cool.
All right, some people were saying like, see, look, Jamie said no though. Okay, well, Jamie, Morgan is sitting next to me.
I am
just
here.
So you know.
Do you have your phone turned? I don't think it can. I don't know how phones work. Portrait and landscape mode.
I don't know. We're definitely landscape, so maybe try.
But we do get interference on our lives.
That's true.
Sometimes that's not uncommon.
Especially depending on what we're talking about.
Okay, see, Beth says yes, both. Yes, all
Jordan said yes, all good.
Huh. Maybe try turning your phone.
Yeah, try turning your phone, Jamie. I don't know. That's weird. Because you're the only one. Oh, I think one other person said that. Just let me adjust this real quick.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And my grandma said no. Well, Grandma Morgan's sitting next to me.
That's so weird. I don't know what's going on.
All right. Anyway, so let's go.
I need to
go back to where we were.
Yes.
All right. So you start questioning reality.
Yeah.
The other part where we were getting at.
Yeah.
Is unlearning old programs. So this is super important. This kind of goes back to what we said about questioning things. We pick up most of our programming like when we were like little kids. So it's important to go back as an adult, especially if you're awake and aware now, to ask yourself, these default programs that are running, do they serve you in your highest good? Because at some point in your life, they may have served you, but maybe now where you're at in your journey, they don't serve you anymore. And that's okay. And I think that's another stigma that people have, like change, or like changing something that they believe so hardcore in at one point that now they can't go back against what they believe their whole life or whatever.
That's like their reality. And then if that doesn't exist, like that's their reality. So they're like, well, what's left if I don't have my reality? It's really,
it's very interesting. It's good to know that just certain things, like I said, serve certain chapters. She can see you now.
Yeah, okay, good.
That's funny. Certain things serve certain chapters of your life, and some things aren't meant to be the whole thing.
Change is okay.
Same thing with people. Let me just put that out there, because when you are awakening, you're gonna piss off a lot of people. I'll just let you know that now, because when you start setting boundaries,
ruffling feathers.
Oh man, and set boundaries, things like that. It does kind of piss people off.
Yeah.
So I think it's important just to know that. And know that it's okay for that to happen. Certain people are only meant to be in your life for certain chapters.
Right.
They're not supposed to be there the whole story. And they may have helped you like really good in these first couple of chapters. Now you've kind of grown apart because you don't have anything in common anymore.
Yeah.
Or it's not even in common. It's like vibrationally, you're just on a vibrational match.
You just...
Like they're still asleep and they're not wanting to change, and here you're trying to grow and ever expand. Like it's not really conducive for you.
And have you noticed with that sometimes when you converse with people or try to read something they've written on social media, like you don't quite understand the words. It's like you read them, but it's not.
It's like gibberish.
It's almost like gibberish.
Yeah.
Because there's a few people that I'm still friends with on Facebook, and I try to read what they write, and I'm like, it doesn't register. It's like I'm reading the words, I understand it, but it's just not registering. I'm like, that's not even the same vibrational match for me. Like that doesn't have anything to do with my new reality that I've created. Or if you're trying to talk with somebody and like you start arguing because you just can't get your message across because you're speaking it's like when you're in a walkie-talkie, you have to be on the same channel to hear each other.
Good analogy, yes.
Yeah, so you got to be on the same channel to be able to hear each other. And if you're not, you're just like
your antenna has to match.
Yeah,
which we've talked about that too on a past live, just about vibrational level. Like if you're vibrating up here and the person you're having a conversation with is vibrating down here, you can say all the woke shit you want to say to them. Just dropping the best bombs, the best knowledge. You're like, man, this is gold. Sprinkle a little bit here. Like, this is great. But if they're down here, they're not going to be able to comprehend what you're saying. Like, it's literally like you're speaking another language. And the reason is because they're not vibrationally aware or even capable of absorbing that information that you're trying to share with them.
Yeah.
So, like, for me, when I'm sharing my messages on here, like any of the posts that I do or the lives or whatever, like, I'm not shoving it down people's throat. I'm putting it out there, and the right people, the ones that do the work, are always the ones that reach out to me, that talk to me, that do the work, and I see it. And it's so awesome because I don't have to spoon feed somebody that's not wanting to absorb that knowledge.
Yeah, don't waste time spoon feeding people that don't want to hear it. It's going to frustrate you. It's going to frustrate them. It's like you can't force someone to hear a message they're not ready to hear yet. And that goes back to planting a seed. You never know. 10 years down the line, it could finally click and be like, oh shit, remember that time Ashton said that thing. Oh my God, it makes so much sense now.
That happens so often.
Yeah.
Like with people. Like, they're like, oh yeah, remember when you said this thing? I'm like, when was that? And they were like, they'll tell me like, oh yeah, I forgot, I totally said that. And they're like, I get it now. I'm like, cool, what's up?
Like, awesome.
Thank you for joining us.
Welcome
to the club. The woke club. The woke club. All right, so part of the Unlearning programs and things like that too. Lucky said, "Oh my God, I caught one finally." Lucky is we've also been MIA for like the past 2 lives, so
that's true.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Part of that though with Unlearning programs is shadow work. So we've also done a past episode on shadow work that you guys should check out if you haven't watched it.
Yeah.
Shadow work's some deep shit, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it's
not
hard,
fun.
It's not fun, but it
must be done.
I like your face. You just go, it must be done.
It must be done. I have weird facial expressions.
It's so important, really, though. On your spiritual journey, you have to do the shadow work. Because that's where you're gonna heal the most, that's where you're gonna have the most changes in your life. That's where you literally change everything.
Yeah. It's not all just love and light and positivity and blah, blah, blah. Because, you see those...
there's rainbows and unicorns everywhere.
That would be amazing.
That'd be great, actually.
I know.
It's not the case, though.
We're not in that dimension right now, sadly.
Eventually.
Maybe someday. What was I saying?
About how
you threw me off as unicorns. And now
it's not all rainbows
now I'm
and
thinking
butterflies.
of the Squatty Potty commercial with the unicorn and he's pooping in the cone and the guy like licks it. See, that's where my brain went with unicorns. You remember that? I hope you know what I'm talking about. You're like, what the heck is she talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about. That's why I'm
One
laughing.
of the greatest commercials of all time.
God.
Squatty Potty unicorn poop commercial.
Lucky said shadow work is never done. It always comes back around. 100%.
Yes.
Any of this stuff.
Yeah.
See,
like all
right
the
there you go.
all the stuff that you see, like, only focus on the positive, like don't be negative. Like in theory that sounds great, but you have to do the shadow work because you're gonna run into things. You're gonna have mad emotions and you're gonna be sad and you're gonna have things that you're gonna have memories that come up and you're like, oh God, that was like a shitty time, and then you realize, oh, that's why I do that thing. 100%. Why is this stuck with me? I need to work on that. And so you can't live in the light all the time. You have to go into the dark and work through it to shine light on the darkness to
100%.
To heal it, because everything in the universe must be balanced. It's not all light, it's not all dark. It has to be balanced in the middle. And the way that life works is you're always, I think of it kind of a wave. There's just like ups and downs, and you got to go with the flow, and you just got to go into the dark sometimes and heal what you have repressed down for so long. And then when you free yourself of that, you feel so much better. And then that helps you be ready for the next thing to come up, because there's always going to be a next thing.
It makes me think of Shrek, and it's like,
oh yeah, the onions,
like onions.
Yeah.
It's just layers.
Yeah.
So when you heal one layer, you're going to find another layer you didn't even know was there, because you couldn't even see that layer yet because of the first layer that was on top of it.
You had to peel the first one first.
Yeah. So my favorite thing, honestly, is to do shadow work. I know that most people like hate it, but I love it because I know
because you know how powerful it is.
Yes. Yeah. Like that's where it's at, man. Like if you can do the power, like the shadow work, it'll change everything for you. Like I go looking in myself for dark places all the time. Yeah.
Go on an adventure with your torch. You're like, all
right. I will go in my mind.
into the forest.
Yeah. I'm like, all right, what corner of my soul, of my mind, whatever.
Oh shit,
do I need
a monster over there.
Yeah, do I need to shine this on now?
Yeah.
And the quickest way to find where you need to do shadow work is look what triggers the shit out of you. If you go do anything or interact with somebody that triggers you, there's your spotlight.
Triggers. You said about trigger warning, all these different, like, I don't want to.
I hate when people, hate's a strong word. I don't hate anything.
You strongly
I dislike when people post things about trigger warnings. And the reason is because you're not even giving them a chance to have that moment. You're taking it before it even happens, so they don't even know that there's healing that needs to take place, because as soon as they read trigger warning, they're like, oh, well, I'm going to go ahead and scroll past this. Like, I'm not even, I'm going to read explore it. And
it's become like a negative thing. Like, triggers are bad, and we can't trigger people. You need to tiptoe around things so you don't trigger people.
Then we just got a bunch of people walking on eggshells.
Yeah, and then there's fear that's just there, that's not being worked on, so then they're just living in the fear. And then
I'm not saying don't go out there and be an asshole. That's not what I'm saying.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. Don't be a Richard, okay? But what I'm saying is just acknowledge when you are triggered. And we've talked about this before, is like, when you get triggered, that's the opportune moment to ask yourself questions. Why am I reacting this way? Like, she just said this thing to me. Why does it make me feel that way, or whatever? And start asking yourself those internal dialogue questions that we talked about before. Like, where does this come from? Have I felt this way before? You know, what does this remind me of? Because a lot of times, I'll tell you guys, doing the NLP and stuff like I do, I know so much about the mind. It's crazy, but like, you literally can link things back in your subconscious mind to something that happened like when you were a kid, or at any point in your life, really. But say Morgan says something that pisses me off, and it was a certain word that she used in like my brain, and you probably know this. We'll go back to like 2nd grade when Barba blah 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 said, I don't fucking know.
Barba
said something to me, and it really hurt my heart, right? So then I take my brain, because what it does is it will take that emotion. It's like, oh yeah, remember when you felt that in 2nd grade?
Remember when Barbara did that?
Shut up. You're feeling that all over again, right? So then it's just like, oh, it'll keep stacking. That's what your brain does. It looks for other things to stack. So then now I'm going to react to Morgan of what she said, not based off what she said, but of all the other past shit that I just drug up in my subconscious mind.
And I'll be like, what?
And she'll be like,
heck? I just said, what up? I know.
Like, what's happening right now? And I'm sure you've been in situations like that. But that's why. That's what your brain's doing. Yeah. That's why it's important to do shadow work. Because if I did shadow work on the thing that happened with Barba.
I like Barba.
In 2nd grade, whatever the fuck her name is. You're so stupid. If I do the shadow work, then it's not going to affect me. It's not going to trigger me. But the point is, when you get triggered, that's when you need to start asking yourself questions. Yeah. Spotlight for healing is what I like to call them instead of triggers. Oh, that's good. But
spotlight for healing. Because that's what
it's just mainstream that people use the word triggers, so that's why I'm using the word trigger. Yeah. So you know what I'm talking about.
I know. I wonder if that was meant. Who started that?
I don't know, but it makes me think of a gun, and I'm not a fan of guns, so trigger, I don't like that.
Oh, I didn't think about
setting you off, maybe. That's where
there goes my conspiracy brain.
Oh god, here we go.
No,
going down that rabbit hole.
No, this is my brain.
So anyway, so shadow work's important, and it is hard, but it is so worth it.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah. Which comes to our next piece, intentional living. So after you're doing all these pieces, so you went through being scared, the veil being lifted, you started questioning reality, everything that you knew, you start rediscovering things that you want to believe, unlearning your old programs that maybe didn't serve you, doing the shadow work, and then intentional living. So now it's about, after you go through all of that, it's about creating the life that you want to live. And this is something that literally never ends. Like, you have to be intentional from moment to moment. There's just no stopping. Once you start this roller coaster, there's no stopping. So I'm not going to lie to you guys and tell you there's like some magical destination that you're going to reach. Like, no, it's literally moment to moment.
Yeah, there's always more growth that you can go through.
And opportunities.
And it's...
I'll read his comments. I can't.
Oh, okay.
No, you can keep talking. I'm just going to...
Okay.
Lucky said something.
Oh, did she?
Oh.
She said parfaits. Did I read that right?
I don't know.
Now I'm hungry.
Oh, Lucky said resentment is kicking my ass right now. Okay, Lucky, so if you're still watching... Do you know specifically what it's about? Sorry, I'm going like...
No, you're good.
Off
no, we go.
topic right now.
No, we go.
And then she said parfaits. Are you resenting parfaits or were those two separate comments? Because I just want to clarify.
Don't resent the parfait.
I would just say, as far as resentment, like, where is that coming from? Do you remember the very first time you ever felt that in your life? Like, is it... Like, I'm basically asking you, is it triggering you from a certain place or a certain person or memory that you have?
And is it resentment for a certain... thing that you see, like, I don't know. If
you're still watching, comment on here if you want to, or you can
want.
send me a message. You don't have to send it on the comments, I guess.
Yeah. Keep it private.
But I'm just
Some
curious.
people like to.
Yeah, I have
keep
people
it
do
on
that all the time. So.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know what you were saying.
That's okay. Oh, no, we were talking about intentional
living.
living. Yeah,
Right.
It never ends. There's always more to learn. There's always more ways to grow. And you do have to be intentional every second of every day. But the reality is, it's going to be really hard to be intentional every second of every day, which goes back to the ebb and flow of life, the waves, the ups and downs. You know, you gotta work with it.
Yeah. Get back on track. It's not about getting off the track as long as you bring yourself back.
Yeah. And time. Intentional living is all about time and how you use it. So a lot of people use the phrase like, oh, I didn't have time to do that. You didn't make it a priority to do that. You have to switch that around in your mind. Hold on.
Pin this because what she's telling you right now, this is big. Okay.
Yeah.
Say what you were just saying about time.
Okay.
Because this is gold, people. If you're listening, listen to what she's about to say.
Is it gold? Put a pin in it. So, okay. You got me off the flow, man.
Sorry.
Just kidding, no. So, a lot of people say, like, I don't have time, or I didn't have time. You have to change that into your mind, that you didn't make it a priority, because you do have time. You have
Everybody
time
has the same time.
every millisecond of every day for the rest of your life, your other lives. We're eternal beings, okay? All we have is time, and what you do with your time is what matters. So if you say, oh, I didn't have, and as a parent, this is what learning this really like stabbed me in the heart. You know, well, I didn't have time to play with my kids today. No, Morgan, you didn't make playing with your kids a priority, and that's the actual fact, because I was scrolling on Facebook, or maybe I was doing dishes, or stressing out about my house being clean, you know, all these stupid things. I made those other things a priority over my kids. Or maybe it's you want to meditate more, or you want to read more. Like, oh, well, I didn't have time for that today.
You didn't make time
you didn't make time for it. And, you know, I could... Again, I'm a mom. I have 3 boys. That's a lot of my... I know.
So I can't talk about...
I know, but it's good to have all the perspectives.
True.
You know, I see a lot of moms. I saw a post the other day of someone kind of making fun of like, oh, you know, not everyone can make time for self-care if you have kids.
Bullshit.
And I will
You should
say
make it the most.
It's really hard. But you can do it, because it's really important for you to be able to fill up your cup. And you know what? Maybe it's after they go to bed that you take a bath, or you read your book, or whatever it is that you like to do. You can do it. You just have to be really intentional about it. And it's not always going to be easy.
No.
That's not what this is about.
This is not easy street,
It's
people.
about being intentional, not about having it be easy. But then the more that you do it, and the more you get in the habit, the easier it becomes, and it becomes part of your routine. Mm-hmm. And when you have a routine, you know, kids get into routines, you know, it just makes it easier for everybody. So Yes, make it a priority because we all have time every single day.
I agree. Okay, Lucky said, I do. Parfaits was a Shrek reference. And then she said, in my relationship. Okay, so resentment in your relationship. So I would ask you, has it always been like that with this person? Did a specific event happen with this person that you're in a relationship now that you start having this? Or did you have this even prior relationships? Like, go back and think, like, when this actually first started. And then again, you don't have to comment on there if you don't want to, but I'm just giving you that so you can explore it on your own.
And relationships are hard. Like, with another person. And I know we have different experiences, but relationships,
we have so many different experiences.
but that's the beauty of it. Is
in all
it's
aspects.
Yes, that's true. But it is hard to. Now I'm laughing. It's true, but yeah, relationships they're just really hard because you're trying to create this life with another person with their own belief systems and their own awakening process, if they're even in the awakening process.
I got my 2 cents on that.
Yeah.
If you can finish yours.
No, you're good.
Okay, so my belief is that you can't change someone else, first of all. So if you're doing your internal work, like, that's the only relationship to me that you should, I know it sounds shitty, but like, should be working on the relationship with yourself, because if you're bringing,
you really have control over,
yeah,
it's your
exactly
self.
That's what I'm saying. So like, bring the best version of you to that relationship, whatever it is. If it's a family member relationship, a significant other relationship, a friendship, any of those things, bring your best version of yourself. And the only way you can do that is to do all the things we talked about, working on yourself and all that. And it's, if you can know without a doubt you're bringing your best self to this person, and there's still is issues, maybe it's like you said, maybe they're not awake or they don't want to work on themselves, then that's where those people fall out. Like, that just happens, and it's okay. Like, people
there's a lot of judgment with that too.
Oh my
like,
God,
even
yes.
with like relationships and divorce and things like that.
I will 100% raise my hand to that one. That is so true. And I'm just like, if you only knew, like, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, you shouldn't stay
you should not
a relationship
miserable
if it's not conductive to your growth. And
ever, I don't give a shit if it's, like I said, a significant other, a friend, a family member, a coworker, anything. Like, if it's hindering your growth, why would you stay there, like, in that space?
Yeah,
we're meant to ever expand. We are extensions of the universe. We are all one. We're all ever expanding and evolving.
Yeah.
You're doing yourself a disservice, and the collective.
It's fear of judgment too, because that's been programmed into us, into our reality, that you can't, you gotta keep on working on something. And that's not saying like give up on something that is really gonna work. My story is different. My husband and I, we had, oh my God, all kinds of issues, and like I was going through my awakening process, and he was like totally fucking asleep, and I want to like slap him. I didn't slap him, but I was like, what is going on? And it just but we went through these different things, but it came down to, we loved each other and we knew we wanted to stay together, so we did the work on ourselves that brought us back to each other, because we both made that choice.
And it was awesome to watch, to see.
Yeah, but it was not pretty, and it was hard, and it was ugly, and there was mean words said and hurt feelings and like all this stuff. But ultimately we both worked on ourselves and found us again. It doesn't always work out like that, but sometimes it does. Everyone's story is different.
And like my story is that I decided I'm just gonna do what I need to do and take care of myself, because I was not in a conducive space to do so.
And then look where you are now.
I know, it's so crazy. Time is interesting. That's all I have to say. Like, when you finally get in alignment and you're doing everything you need to do and you do the work, like, things show up so quickly. It's
crazy. You're like, oh shit, did I just do that?
I sure did.
Oh my gosh,
I love doing it. I love I'm a master manifester. Like, I'm so good at manifesting things. I like just testing it all the time. Just like, this is what I'm going to manifest today and see what comes up. It's pretty cool. Lucky said, not just my romantic relationship, but parental and others. I know it's not them. It's my awareness, and the clearing is important. It will evolve from this. Okay. So I think that means you got what you needed from it, whatever you recognize from that.
Mm-hmm.
The other part is too, when you said about hurting each other's feelings, I think that again is you can't hurt someone's feelings unless they allow you to do so.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them allowing you to do so is usually because of a trigger. So like,
it's
even then, like if somebody says
there's
something,
so many layers to it.
Guys, I know this is deep, but just bear with us.
Yeah.
Okay, so if someone was to say something to me and it hurt my feelings, it only hurt my feelings because it triggered me, because I believed it somewhat to be true, or I heard it before, or whatever. I'm gonna just be honest with you. You get to a point with your awareness when you're working through this stuff, like, you literally don't give a flying fuck anymore. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, somebody could come up to me and say something, and as I'm an emotional being, like, I'm like...
I hate your haircut.
I have people say that.
Happened,
I have people say that to me in public. Like, no filter.
I'm not
like,
laughing.
But it's true. And I'm just like...
people are weird.
I know.
Like, who does that? Like,
it's interesting. No, but I laugh about it. That's why it's funny. Because it doesn't trigger me. I don't give a shit. I look fly as fuck. That's fine. Like, thank you.
Okay.
That's
how
how
you hate your hair? Like, why are you throwing that at me?
What she's talking about is I have that happen all the time in public, especially because we live in the Bible Belt, and because I'm a female with short hair, it's like this big deal. I'm like, oh my god.
How dare you?
I have old people tell me all the time. And it's more typically, it's older men that usually say something to me. Most of the time.
Older ladies.
No, it's usually,
like...
they rock a short bob. Older ladies.
Well, that's true. But the perm and the gray hair.
Yeah, no, normally it's older guys. I remember when females only had long hair. They should stay like that. And I'm like,
oh, that's that whole toxic masculinity thing.
Yeah, I know. Here's the thing, you guys. Everything is fluid. I don't give a shit what you say, whether it's hair, whether it's sexuality, whether it's energy in general, like feminine versus masculine. Like, it's all fluid. It's not a black and white box that you can just shove something into and say, okay, this is this or this is this. Like, it's bullshit. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
We are on a sliding spectrum here, okay, where things are fluid and they're changing constantly. Anyway, I don't know where I was going with that, but...
It's like, why can't we just focus on somebody's nice and they're just a good person and they're working on themselves and they're not actively hurting anybody, you know, like, just nice people. Like, why do you care?
I mean, I've had that happen in different situations too. I've had people with churches come up to me and tell me that I'm going to hell, so there's that.
Well, there's the whole
like
religion
legit
thing.
Oh yeah, that's
like super.
I'm like, do you even know who I am? Like, you didn't even take a second to get to know me. But anyway,
do you know how old the Bible is and like what went into all of that?
I mean, that's a whole other tangent we could go on.
I like those tangents.
But my point was being is like, I don't give a shit. If someone doesn't like me, I don't care. Because I know I'm a good person.
I'm not inviting you over.
Yeah, like, cool, you're not coming to my food.
Sorry. I just had to make you laugh.
I hate you. I'm just kidding, I don't hate you. Anyway. Give us a second. Okay. I don't care what people think, is my point.
Yeah.
I'm going to be myself to the day that I die, because even when I die, I'm just going to transcend and my energy is going to go somewhere else.
Because this is your experience. This is
my experience. Like, I choose to not be upset, and the reason I choose to not be upset is because I've done the things to heal the things. Like, I used to not be able to wear like pink things, right? Because of what I experienced growing up. Now I have pink shirts in there and I will wear it and I'm just like, I look good in pink. Like, but you know how long it took me to get to that space of healing and working on those things, doing the shadow work behind it, stuff like that, like to be able to get there. Yeah. Anyway, so I've worked on a lot of stuff, so that's why I don't give a shit what anybody thinks anymore. Because I know that I'm bringing the best version of myself at all times to anyone. I don't care if it's Morgan here sitting next to me, you on this live, or a complete stranger. Like, I'm always 100% bringing the best version of myself to anyone and everyone that I meet. And anywhere and everywhere that I go. Because I believe that's how change happens. Because then when people see you living your truth and they see you doing all these things, even when you've been through some really hard shit, people that follow my stories, people that have seen any of my lives, they know the shit that I've been through. They know where I've walked through and where I've been and how I am now and like what it took for me to get here. So I know that if I can live in that space after being through all of those things, then I could inspire somebody else to do that. And that's why I share my story. That's why we share our experiences with you guys, is for that exact reason. Because if we do the work and get to the point where we've healed it and went through all those things, like, we literally don't give a shit if you don't like us. If you think we're weird, what are those tinfoil hat people, like, that's fine. Bye. Like, cool.
Like, okay.
And if you're weird as shit like us, like, hey, we'll hang out. Like, it doesn't matter.
Totally hang out.
Yeah.
I made a tinfoil tiara.
Yeah.
I still have it too.
Oh, that's so great. If you guys missed our Halloween live, you should totally go back and watch it. It was pretty great.
Funny. Yeah.
So that was about intentional living, and then we kind of touched about this already, but relationship and boundaries. So when you start going through your awakening process and you start doing all that work, you're gonna find sometimes that people aren't meant to be in your life, and you'll ask them to deuce out. Like, that's gonna happen, or they might check themselves out on their own. That happens too.
Yeah,
I've noticed. I don't know about you, but it's happened in my life. Because it's important, because when you're going back and healing things, I think something to remember is, you can forgive someone without actually ever having to talk to that person, because forgiveness is for you, not for them, and it's an internal job. You don't have to hear I'm sorry from that person, because I promise you, most of the time people will die holding their breath waiting to hear it. So don't even worry about that. Like, just do the internal work. And there's some different techniques that I talk about and use that you can use to do that. There's a Hawaiian technique called Ho'oponopono.
I love Ho'oponopono.
It's really long. It's lots of O's at ends, but Ho'oponopono. But look it up. But it's cool visualizing technique where you can visualize the person in front of you on a stage, and then you're just sending them love and all these things. And anyway, the point is while you're doing the internal work to...
It's like, I forgive you, I love you.
I love you, I forgive you, like all these things. Yeah. And then you forgive yourself for what you did for them too. Yeah. But anyway, so when you do that, you're doing the internal work, because here's the reason, if you want to talk about the brain. So when you think of someone that did something to you, wronged you or pissed you off or whatever, like, do you think that person's living in your brain? Hell no. Like, they're not. But you have this little figment in your imagination of this person in your brain. The truth is, though, that figment is still you. So every time you're holding resentment or anger or whatever towards somebody else, they're living their life, doing whatever they need to do. The fact is, though, that you have this little version of them in your head that you're constantly attacking and sending things to, this hate, this resentment, whatever. The fact is that it's you that you're sending that to. So that's important to remember. Even when you're doing your forgiveness exercise, like, that's still you. Yeah. And I work with a lot of people who've been through traumas and things like that, like about forgiving their attacker or things like that, and their younger self. Like, that's the biggest one. Yeah. People forgiving their, like, childhood self is huge, especially if they experience trauma. Like, for not telling somebody, for letting that person do that if they're a kid. Like, there's just a lot of things to work through.
I feel like a lot of things happen, like, in childhood, like programming and different traumas and things. So there's so much in.
So you woke parents, thank you. Thank you for being a woke parent. Thank you for doing the work, because you literally are, like, changing the world with your kids in your parenting style. Like, your boys, they're so smart, and they're still so young.
They really are smart. And I know, like, all parents should say that.
No,
but they really are.
I'm a third neutral party. That is not true.
That's good. Yeah. They're
so sweet, and they're so nice, and I'm so excited to keep watching them grow. Like,
they're super cool kids. And also, one of the hardest things as a parent, as an awakening parent, is unlearning these old programs that were programmed into you as kids. At the same time, you realize you're programming your kids. So you're like, okay, because you can't, like, not program. Everything is a program. Yeah. Everything is. So, you know, I am so far from perfect. I've come a long way, but I still have to work on my patience and, like, the things that I say and how I say them and how I do different things. So I'm unlearning these things and reprogramming myself as I'm aware that I'm programming my kids, hoping they don't have to unprogram and reprogram the same way that I have. So it's a very challenging place to be, but I'm also grateful for the path that I'm on, hoping that when they're 35 like me, that they're going to be light years ahead from where I am now at 35. That's what I work so hard for.
Which
for them to have the mindsets and the belief and the way that they think about things, and teaching them not to, put so much pressure on themselves to please others, because that doesn't get you anywhere except stressed out. So
I think the good thing too. So Morgan also homeschools her kids. FYI.
I do. So they're with
Morgan
me
is a badass.
all the time.
For those of you who do not know Morgan, you need to know Morgan. Follow her. Like, she's always sharing stuff. But I think the important thing that you do with your kids, and any conscious parent, I mean, there's several on here that are watching right now that know this, but I think it's important that what you guys are doing with your kids, you're teaching them to think cognitively. You're not telling them, no, don't do this. Like, you'll explain it more, and then if they do it, then the consequence happens or whatever. We used an example before in a live, I can't remember what it was, but like you would ask one of the boys something, and then like you made them go through the thought process, basically, instead of just telling them not to do it. Like, you made them think about, okay, well, if you do this, this is what's going to happen. If you don't do this, this is what's going to happen, and let them decide. Because I think that's huge. One, because the way the human mind develops at that young age is huge. I mean, you are literally creating your thinking system.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're just telling a kid, no, don't do that, you're not even giving them the ability to think of, okay, let's process this, and why should we not do this, and things like that. So I think it's really cool that people actually do that with their kids or anybody that they're around, that they're raising or teaching or anything like that.
Give them choices, you know?
Yes.
Make them think about things. There's consequences. Sometimes there's natural consequences. Like, you know, if you keep doing that, you might get hurt. And like, oh, well, you got hurt. I'm sorry that happened, but you see how that happened. Like, it's, and then there's other consequences. Like, my oldest son, he's kind of whiny about certain things, and so if he whines too much, he has to go pick up dog poop. And he's like, oh, I don't want to pick up dog poop. I'm like, well, you were whining. Like, go pick up dog poop. I'm sorry. You can't whine about everything. It's usually about like a snack. He wants a snack or something.
He's a grown boy.
And they always have fruits and vegetables they can eat, but he wants like a granola bar, and I'm like, those are for breakfast. Anyways, but so there's just all sorts of consequences and choices that they have, or, well, have you thought about it this way? And teaching them to have, instead of whining, like, converse back with me, like, negotiate. Learn how to negotiate with me and Dad. And
you're teaching them life skills.
Yeah, and they do. Sometimes they'll make a good point. And I'm like, well,
touche.
Shit, I didn't think about that.
All right,
that's a great point. And, you know, it's not just like, I am mom and I'm right all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm always, like, if I do something wrong, or I yell, or I say something, I apologize. I'm like, look, I'm really sorry that I yelled, or that I said that bad word. I shouldn't have done that, but I was feeling really angry because, or if I'm having a bad day, you know, maybe.
You'll tell them that.
Yeah, maybe if my husband and I got into an argument and it, you know, kind of made me grumpy, but you know what? I just, you know, Daddy and I had an argument, and I'm just feeling kind of upset right now. So I'm sorry that I yelled. I'm just feeling upset. And you know what they do more often than not? They come give me a hug. You know,
and you feel better.
Yeah, and I do. And I'm like, that's so sweet. And I do that with them. If I see that they're upset, I'm like, do you need a hug? If they say no, and I don't force physical affection on them, but a lot of times, yeah, I need a hug, and then a hug helps make it better. So there's just little things like that you can do, and, you know, keep improving on them as the days go by.
Yeah, I think that was super important. Hi, Abby. Okay, so that was relationship boundaries. Oh, okay, ego trap. That's what we're going to talk about.
Oh, yeah. Ego trap. Yeah.
So now we're going to talk about the ego trap. Which we were talking about earlier.
Yes, we were.
So in this realm, I'll use myself as an example because that's where I can speak from. In the industry that I'm in, whether you want to call it, I don't want to use the term life coaching, but sure.
It's out there. That's pop. People know what life
coaching, okay. Do. Light workers, energy workers, what else would go in that category, do you think?
Oh gosh, just really any type of coach.
Anything like that. Okay, let's just talk about that. There's things such as a ego trap, right? And what that is like when you get into this realm and you get awake and you start working on things, it gets to this point. There are some people that they're like, oh, okay, I've learned it all. I'm
they
great.
think I know
I'm
everything.
Fine. I don't need to work on myself
they've
anymore.
Mastered life.
Let me just tell you right now. If you come across someone, I don't give a shit who they are, if they're a life coach or a mentor or whatever, and they're saying that, turn around and walk away, because that's not your person. Because that person has stopped working on themselves. And as humans, as teachers, as mentors, as the greatest people we are supposed to be able to guide people, we should always be working on ourselves. Like, I work on myself constantly. Like, you should never stop working on yourself. It's a never-ending job. So if you come across somebody like that, just turn around and walk the other way.
Yeah.
Because that's not the person for you.
Yeah. And they're usually, they can be very abrasive about certain things and very aggressive.
Like
and
almost like a car salesman kind of. No offense, I've sold cars, so, but like in your face.
There's a difference between passion and aggression. So like passionate is just speaking from the heart and just sharing your truth, like understanding like not everyone's going to see eye to eye, and you know, don't shame people for different things because everyone's at their own place in their journey. But there's this aggression, and this gets back into division. Ashton and I were talking earlier on, okay, let's take technology for example. Technology is amazing. It's why we're gathered. It's why we're gathered here today. It sounds like church.
We're gathered here today.
We're gathered here today, tonight, whatever.
Whatever
you're watching.
I am an ordained minister, just FYI.
And so it's an amazing tool. Mm-hmm. But some people are like, oh, like social media is crap.
It's
like it's dirty. It's like
low vibration.
Yeah, all this stuff, and you can't fall into that. Just like money, social media can be used for good and bad, even though I know you don't like the term good and bad, for light or dark, for high vibe and low vibe things.
It's like a conversation at work.
And then you have a lot of people that they're totally against TV and movies because they're like, oh, those are going to program you, and there's like subliminal messages and like all that. And yes, those things may be true, but that doesn't mean you can't learn things from shows. So let's go into a little bit of a rabbit hole with me, and there's always a rabbit hole.
Let's deep dive. Let's go.
Let's talk about Disney. Okay? Disney. Yeah. All the high up elite people, they're all pedophiles, and they do all these horrible things to children, and it's awful, and all these things, okay? Like, I get that. It's awful. I don't support that. But there is some beauty and magic to the Disney movies that are out there. People may disagree with this, like, well, how, and I struggle with this too, is like, how can I support an industry that does these different things? But not everybody in the Disney business is a bad guy. There's some amazing movies out there, and you know what, maybe there are subliminal messages for some of them, but I grew up
in there too, though.
Yeah, exactly. You grew up on Disney movies, and like the song and the music and the colors and
like
the
Lion
stories.
King was one of my favorites.
Yeah, like there's some amazing things there where you really are just touched by certain things. And so I can't let the knowledge
as a whole.
Yeah, I can't let the knowledge of these things that are happening take away from the magic that is there and the way that it does help people just using your imaginations. I mean, I love, like, Inside Out is a great movie.
I love Inside Out. That is a good one. And it's good about emotions.
Oh, yeah. And it's great for kids learning how, like, it's okay to be sad and happy. Like, there are some amazing lessons in there. So you can't just full on be like, oh, like, all movies are bad. And, like, if you watch Disney movies, like, you're supporting all the bullshit that happens there. Like, no, you can't. You can't think of it like that. That's an ego trap. We do need to shine light on what's happening, all the bullshit that's happening.
That's why it's
light. We're talking about it. We're bringing it, but we can't take away these things and these stories that a lot of people are inspired by and that may have helped their awakening process. So that's what we talk about with ego traps. It can get very deep when you know these things, but you still love these other things. So like we said, TV, we covered technology.
Mentors even.
Yeah, mentors. Oh, gosh. There's, you want to...
I'm just saying there's a lot of people out there that because this has gotten so mainstream now with light workers and energy and, you know, shadow work and all this, they're catchy phrases that a lot of people that maybe not necessarily are all the light, or they're only went so far on their journey and stopped and think, okay, well, I'm good now. Mm-hmm. Just be aware of those things, because I truly believe, like I said, the best teachers, the best mentors will always continue learning. Mm-hmm. And I also believe, from my personal experience as a mentor and as a teacher, I like to continue learning, because then I get to pass that down to my students or whoever, my clients, like whoever it is I'm working with, even friends or family, right? and they're going to go further faster than me because I have already learned all this knowledge and I'm sharing, and now they get to start. It's like what you're doing with your kids. Mm-hmm. You're giving them so much knowledge that you've gained in 35 years as, what's the oldest one? How old is he? 8 and below.
Yeah.
She's giving to that. I just want to put that in perspective for you. She's giving them, basically like, if we're playing The Sims, she's giving them the cheat codes for the past 35 years at 8 years and under.
Yeah.
Do you know how far that's going to take them in their lifetime because she's doing that? And that's with anybody or anything.
Yeah.
So the best teachers should also be outlearned by their students, I think, because you've given them the knowledge faster. It's not going to take them as long to learn the lesson.
And then I think a good life coach, they're going to give the credit to the student.
You can't coach through life. Like you can guide,
but you give the credit to the student.
Yes.
Because you're like, you're the one that did the work. I didn't go in your brain and like mush stuff around, and I'm like, you went and did all that.
Sometimes I guide them, but I'm still not doing it.
Your support system, but you don't do the work that they have to do.
It's all internal work. No one can take that from you. So anyway, so that's ego trap that we were
careful of those.
Just be aware of those
ego traps. Don't let people make you feel bad for.
I'm trying to read what her says.
Let's see. Oh, she says, so I'm a little slow, but I didn't think you lived in the same area. I was shocked to see you together in real life. I know, that's why we did it. We're like,
a lot of people didn't know. So Morgan, we both live in Oklahoma. We don't live in the same area. I mean, but
same city.
Yeah, same-ish, technically.
Yeah. We're like,
anyway, so we decided to do different tonight and do the live together as opposed to our separate spaces. We wanted to bring
switch it up.
Switch it up a bit, and talk about these things. So does anybody have any questions about anything that we've covered as far as the awakening process, or anything that you want to share? Anything like that?
Yeah.
Now's the time if you want to. I mean, you've been sharing, but you know what I mean.
That's true. Yeah. Good. What time is it even?
I don't know.
We always lose track of time. 9:54.
Look at that. We're good. I know, but we always go the same length every time. Like not even. It's just.
It just has a natural progression.
Yes.
It's a natural progression. So drink your water.
All right. Well, if nobody has anything, we're probably gonna wrap it up for the evening. But we do these every other Wednesday.
Every other Wednesday, yes.
At 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Yeah, so the next one.
So the next one will be the week, I believe, before.
Yeah, the 18th.
Yeah, the week before Christmas.
Yeah.
And then the one after that will be on January 1st.
Ooh, the first of the year.
That'll be a good one.
That's good. Yeah.
Okay. So anyway,
2020.
Thank you for joining us, and like I said, if you're watching this on replay, feel free to go in the comments because we always go back and answer, and then we're always taking suggestions for future episodes. So anytime you guys want us to cover something, just send us a message or comment on here, and we will do that. So thank you for joining us in the space and doing something different with us. We had a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was different because we're in the same space.
I know,
but
it
was also
there
cool,
you are.
so.
Yeah.
All right. Well, have a good night, guys, and we will catch you on the next Awaken Vlogcast.
Bye.